So over the last 2 weeks, we've learned about what we mean when we say somebody is autistic and about the diagnostic process. This week, we're mostly focusing in on thinking about autistic women and girls, but none of this information is exclusive to women and girls. George, can you tell us why this isn't just about that group?
Well, we know that autistic people are more likely to be gender diverse. They're more likely to be trans, non-binary, or any other gender. And sometimes when people talk about gender differences in autistic people, they use the idea of female autism as if it's a different way of being autistic. And I don't think that's useful. There are many overlaps between different types of autistic people, and there are certainly people of all genders who present in different ways. And so if you took what is sometimes said about autistic women and girls, there are many sort of cis men who those things also apply to. So I don't think it's about gender. I think it's more useful to think in terms of more or less stereotypical autistic presentations rather than it as a male versus female thing.
I agree. So the research in this area has mostly, though, just compared autistic men with autistic women, autistic men and boys with autistic women and girls. We know that women and girls are in the group of autistic people who are more likely to be diagnosed later. And we are going to look at why that might be the case and to explore some of the issues around systemic bias in the next step. But George, for now, what else has research told us about the potential differences between autistic males and autistic females?
So the research has suggested that autistic women and girls might have intense interests, which are seen as more typical to those of their peers than the interests that people might associate with men and boys who are autistic and their intense interests. So they might be, the men and boys might have more stereotypically autistic interests. And also it's been suggested that women and girls might change their interests more frequently. Another thing that the research has suggested is that autistic women and girls are more likely to mask. So masking is when autistic people change their behavior in order to fit in with non-autistic society. But this again isn't unique to autistic women. So autistic men also mask, and in fact non-autistic people also mask to fit in with their environment. So these things again aren't unique to women and girls.
Absolutely. So I think that we will explore some of those issues in more detail to think about some of the differences between stereotypical autistic presentations and sort of more or less stereotypical autistic presentations. I think we also know that we've got some evidence that autistic people who present with a less stereotypical autistic presentation, including women and girls, are possibly more likely to have been missed and also misdiagnosed. And so it's not uncommon for groups of autistic women and girls to have had experience of being misdiagnosed with a number of other diagnoses.